Okay, Pak Nurul, you can start now.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Nurul Ihsan. I am a lecturer and researcher in the Faculty of Informatics in Telkom University. We call it Universitas Telkom, yeah, in Indonesia. I come from data science research group and from the HPC laboratory. Yeah, me and Pahari, we come from same research group. We are from data science. He actually my senior, yeah, my senpai. Yeah, it's an honor for me to talk in this morning. Opportunity in this opportunity with you for our friend. Maybe I will try to introduce myself. So first, maybe I'm sorry for my English, not a really native speaker and do not speak English so much. So it's becoming Sunda English, yeah, Sunglish. So bear with me. So I come from modeling world, yeah. Modeling means we are translating natural phenomena into some simplified equation like, so we can explain in the scientific term, and then we can calculate, we can compute that kind of phenomena numerically, yeah, by computer. That was the thing that I am doing for the past almost 10 years, yeah. So in my word, realistic modeling need a real computer. What does it mean, a real computer? It means that our desktop computer in our home, it is not enough, yeah, to just to calculate or to solve our equation of the model that we are observing. So we need some in my journey in this modeling world. I need to build my own supercomputer, yeah. So that's why today I talk about the HPC infrastructure for modeling and data analytics platform. You can see my LinkedIn page or my Google Scholar page if you want to know more detail, yeah, about me. Maybe that is a 2-minute short introduction, Bahari.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. Okay, so just go on.
Should we continue
On your
or?
script. Yes, you can continue. Yeah.
We can wait. Okay, I see more people coming.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, all the students. I know this is a long weekend for you, and also for us, yeah. But it is a very nice opportunity to talk about this topic. So, yeah, many people asking gitu ya, and wondering what actually we do gitu ya. What people think about us gitu ya, what we do, yeah, they thinking that we are doing scientific things, calculating something with computer, and we are observing some natural phenomena and making some simulation. And then what my family think I do, yeah, they thinking that I am doing writing some code every day, running some model every day, but actually what we do is just having fun.
Nurul, I think you have
Sometimes we just
sorry,
get bored
Pak Nurul.
and just
Halo.
games, some very old games. Hello?
I
There is
think you
some
have
problem.
lagging on your internet.
Oh, okay. What should I do? What should I do? The video and the sound is not synchronized.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I think your signal maybe there's something. Halo, Pak Nurul? Pak Nurik? Oke. Ya.
Hello. How
Ya,
about
ya.
now?
Ya.
Is it
Ya, it
better?
is clear now. Ya, it is clear now.
Okay, I'm so sorry for the interruption. Now it's better or?
Ah, it's better. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. What people think we do? Yeah. They thinking that we are do scientific things with computer, and then what my family think I do. They think that I do coding every day, but actually we do sometimes when we get bored, we just playing some games, and yeah, take times to run very old games in our computer. Yeah. So really, no, yeah, that is not actually what happened in our laboratory. Yeah, sometimes we're having fun, but in our routine, yeah, we participating in annually HPC event, HPC competition event like international student competition or ASEAN HPC student cluster competition, yeah. And in our laboratory or in our campus, we are actively refine or rebuild our compute cluster, yeah. In that process, we also learn networking, system operation, building some computing cluster, and programming along the way. Yeah. This is some our achievement. Yeah, we have a lot of memory. Yeah, in competition and many kind of event. Yeah, starting from as a finalist. How could I say in English? I do not know. Yeah, we are invited to come to the Texas, United States of America in 2018 as the finalist in ISC competition, International Student Cluster Competition. And 2 years ago, we also invited to Germany, but we cannot come to overseas because of the pandemic. And currently, we are also participating in Asia Pacific HPC and Artificial Intelligence student competition event. Mainly, we are learning by ourselves, yeah, taught by doing. So we are learning together in our laboratory. Yeah, this is some achievement. We are participating in many kind of event, yeah, starting from ASC, Asian Student Cluster Competition, ISC, International Student Cluster Competition, and many kind of international event. Yeah. Sometimes we also attend international seminar, yeah, on HPC, and that is some of our main activity in our laboratory. So now we are returning to the story of HPC. What is an HPC? Just like our cars and bike, motorbike, I mean, computer also built for its specific purposes. I know you also build your own computer. If you want to play some games, then you will spend a lot of money into high-end desktop part, expensive solid state storage, expensive graphics card, expensive processor, and many kind of things just to get to play your favorite games in that machine. Computer is like that. There is some computer that custom to process a lot of data, like a big car, big trailer. But there is also a computer that tuned to work or to solve or to compute some data very fast, like F1 cars. This is two kind of different computer. In this world, in this modern age of data, you can process a lot of data with a huge computer cluster to get understanding, what is important in that load of data. This field is called data mining. Maybe you already know and heard a lot of it. Data mining, we are finding some important thing in very huge amount of data. So like a big trailer, your computer have to able to carry a lot of data, and we can search through the tremendous amount of data. And then there is another type of computer that is tuned to run your model as fast as you can. The purposes is slightly different. This is to solve many kind of scientific challenge, or to build some artificial intelligence, so that we can repurpose computer to understand what we understand or to do what we can do. This is one kind of illustration. When you
Wow,
have
that's huge.
a lot of data, we custom our car to carry a lot of amount things. So this is one kind of the vehicle or car.
Is it through cars or it's a
Yeah.
Photoshop something?
Not Photoshop. Another kind of car maybe is the Formula One. So the purpose is different. The first car is to carry a lot of data, as many as you can, but this other car is to run as fast as it can. So two different purposes. Computer also like it. HPC also like that. There is HPC that purposely built for large amount of data, and another HPC is built for computing. So like in the real world, we always wanted to solve our problem faster. If we can run our program faster, we solve our model faster, then we can get our result as soon as we can. And then we can do another tuning, refinement, and then we can do a faster innovation. When humankind hit by the first pandemic in the COVID-19, we get the vaccine only in 1 year. That is thanks to the ability to model and to solve the problem in the genetic engineering so that we can find some counter, how could I say, counter mechanism of the virus infection, of the viral infection. To find that vaccine, at that time, a lot of computational scientists run their model in the supercomputer. I heard a lot of scientists run their model in the United States and the Europe and in Japan, starting from the DNA sequence of the virus, and then they try to find the infection mechanism so we can memutus so we can stop the viral infection into our body. So this is one of the example, how computational can accelerate the innovation in our daily life. In another word, maybe you also heard every day weather forecast every morning. In the old times, I have a habit in every morning always asking what is today weather. If today will be rainy, then we will bring our umbrella and we will prepare for our activity. But recently we cannot predict what today weather will be. Whether today will be thunderstorm or will be a clear day. We do not know. So in the state or in the Europe or in Japan, people have the, how could I say, kebiasaan, have the habit. They prepare for today. What will be the weather today? They will prepare what kind of clothes that they need to use, what kind of thing that we will need to bring, and etc. So with good computer, we can also predict the weather in our daily life. I think in Indonesia, the government cannot predict our weather quite good because we still do not have quite good computer to simulate the weather itself, and the data itself is also not completed. And if you know the BMKG, Badan Meteorologi and Climatology and Geophysics, they do not have such luxury to run some prediction, to run some model to predict today weather. This is just some quote. We have a lot of innovation. Human being. If you illustrate 1 year, one universe is time is scaled to 1 year. Human is actually only live on the Christmas Eve of this year. So in 1 year, time scale, I think we only live in half day. But in that time scale, I think human civilization in 5,000 years have advanced so fast, and we grow. We live this earth, advance the technology very fast. I think the only limitation to the human being to innovate is their own time and their space. We are contained in this earth, and we cannot live long enough to do many kind of things. But with that kind of limitation, we already make a lot of innovation. At first, human cannot do anything. We only live in some cave. We find our food by hunting, and then we can find ourselves to plant something and to breed some animals, and then now we can access or we can build some technology that based on the 1 2 billion, yeah, 1 to billion of nanometer, yeah, 1 to billion of meter, and we can also build a very large thing and very advanced technology, and we can now operate some kind of things like a supercomputer. So this is one of our tools to perform innovation in our time scale. So without a supercomputer, I think human cannot exceed their time and space limitation. So human will die, but our data, if we can maintain our computer, will last forever. So yeah, that's some insight from last night. Please continue. So back to the HPC itself, I think people can build so-called HPC, yeah, high performance cluster computer, from the general component that you can find in the store, or we can also special build. Yeah, we can also perform a specific build, which is sometimes expensive to get the maximum performance of the computer. So we can build a cluster by connecting bunch of computer like this. So we have a lot of unused computer, for example, and then we connected it to the network, and then we install some software in the cluster, and we make them work together as a whole. That's called Beowulf cluster. I also try to build this kind of cluster in my alma mater, yeah, in Bandung Institute of Technology, and in Telkom University also I tried to build some other. So yeah, if you need computing power, just simply put a lot of computer to work together, and then we have computing power. Yeah. But is it fast enough? Is it good enough? It depends. It depends on your needs. Yeah. If you just need to solve your problem, your challenge, you don't care about how fast it should be solved. Yeah, this kind of thing can do. I mean, for example, you need to train your model, which can recognize cat, for example, but we have 1,000 or 100,000 of pictures that need to be recognized. Yeah, this thing can do, but whether this thing can do fast enough, I don't know. Yeah, but this thing can solve our problem in a relatively long enough time scale. We also can build a very expensive computer, yeah, like Fugaku supercomputer, to just run our model, yeah. And then people start to compete each other. If you see in the top 500 list, yeah, in this website, people from advanced country like America, Japan, Europe, China, they are compete each other to show, not just to show, yeah, it's like to show the entire world what we can do. So it's like nuclear power, yeah. Like China have the ability to operate a nuclear reactor. America also can do. Russia also can do. And Japan also can do. So that they do not bother each other. So I do not want to bother China because they have a lot of firearm power and nuclear power, and we also do not want to bother Japan. So each country economy are equal to each other because they have the same ability and the same technology. So if someday Indonesia have a supercomputer like this, other country will see, oh, Indonesia is now advanced country, and we will not bother their economy because they can handle their data itself. This kind of thing of supercomputer is, in my opinion, it's like the ability to operate advanced technology like nuclear reactor. So if we can handle supercomputer, then we are an advanced country. That's the point I want to say. So there is 5 main ingredients in this kinds of supercomputer. The first is the compute component or compute capability itself. Yeah, you can choose many kind of processor. Yeah, many kind of architecture we can integrate into our cluster. It depends on your need. First, maybe the most popular one. This is a brand, yeah, computer brand. We use in our daily life Intel processor, yeah, in our desktop and in our laptop. In supercomputer also we can integrate Intel processor. And the second most popular one is the AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. They also have a product microprocessor. Keunggulan ya, the advancement or ya kelebihan dari AMD ini, if we compare to the Intel, the AMD have more dense processor. So if we need more core, if we need more worker in one PC, AMD have more worker in the one unit. And another kind of processor, maybe in our daily life, we use a smartphone everywhere that is made by ARM microprocessor, and also there is another choice from IBM and Sun Microsystems. This is kind of processor we can integrate into our cluster. If we want low cost, people choose Intel and AMD, but another people choose another architecture for their specific needs. Like ARM microprocessor now becoming more popular because the price is not so high. It's quite cheap to build such a large cluster, but in raw power, ARM supercomputer it can achieve more computational power, but the software itself is quite complicated. So if you have the opportunity to operate Fugaku, world fastest supercomputer, it's actually quite difficult to operate because we have to be careful in our programming. We have to mind that the supercomputer is built on the ARM 64 architecture, so we have to sometimes to port our code into this architecture because most of our code is written in the Intel and AMD architecture x86 64. This is another kind of computer. So we cannot run our Windows application in our smartphone, right? So this ARM 64 is actually a smartphone processor, but people integrate into the large supercomputer. Then we also need to consider to accelerate our application, what kind of hardware we want to use. Most of people using a graphical processing unit, our GPU, to do some simulation. Actually, this is the cheapest, the cheapest supercomputer that we can get. We have 1,000 workers in just single card like this. If we can do programming in this kind of card, we could accelerate our execution time significantly by only using their programming models, programming paradigm like NVIDIA CUDA. So if you can port your code into the GPU compatible codes, your program will running faster. This is also very popular in today students when they run their AI model on, or when they train their model. If we train by using a CPU, you will take a lot of time. But if you have your GPU and your code is GPU compatible, then you can reduce significantly your computational time to build your model. So this is very popular, but some company they think that GPU is not enough. Yeah, they build their own tensor processing unit to accelerate their inferencing or building their model. So one kind of example, Google use their own tensor processing unit to find your route from your house to our campus. For example, every day I using Google Map. I know maybe every other people also using Google Map, but to find the route, the best route in the real time for everyone in this earth, Google needs something more than GPU. So they built a custom accelerator called tensor processing unit just to calculate the path that you need to take from your home to our destination. So the tensor processing unit is. And then we also have kind of field programmable gate array. This is maybe kind of comes from electrical engineering world. So in the electrical engineering, we have logic gates like AND, OR, NOR, and the others. So this gate work very fast. And if you have defined structure of the gates, we can execute how many layer in very timely manner. So it's very fast. But the problem is each time we have a different kind of gates structure. Each time, each program have different logic. If we need to execute this program, this many kind of different program, we need to build many hardware, many different hardware. So people make the logic gate into some programmable type logic gate called FPGA. So when you have a lot of data that I illustrated like a big trailer, to process that kind of data in the big trailer, we need some prepared industrial process. So we prepared gates. So if we already prepare our gates, then the next process can be just batch execution of a large amount of data. So this FPGA is for the kind of repetitive process for large amount of data. If you have terabytes or petabytes of data, we need some kind of things that compute quite fast for many different kind of input and in large volume. So this is used in many kind of data mining, I think. So faster logic and faster batch data processing. For more extreme cases, maybe if you are familiar with the term of blockchain or cryptocurrency, some people think that CPU is not fast enough, FPGA is not fast enough. They need to build their own custom specific integrated circuit to just run that application. So if the application is already decided what the logic will be performed in the program, we can build custom specific chip only to run that program. So for example, in the Bitcoin, you just need to calculate or to predict the hashing function. Only to calculate the hash function, they build specific chip to perform that action. Is the chip are usable for another program? No. The chip is only built to execute hash function. So that is called application specific integrated circuit. So if you have some very important problem that need to be executed as fast as we can build some specific integrated circuit just to run that program. So this kind of acceleration can be performed, and you can guess maybe the more is customized, it becoming more expensive. Making a chip is not easy things. So ASIC is the most expensive technology in this world. And then come to the second, how could I say, the second part. If we already choose what processor we will use and then what accelerator you want to use in your cluster, then you have to connect them together, right? We need to choose what kind of interconnection that will be used in our cluster. The common one, the most generic thing is we are using our Ethernet or IP network. We just use our Ethernet port in our computer and then connected them into some switch, and we provide some network configuration, and then boom, they are becoming a compute cluster. But there is also another kind of technology, like InfiniBand, OmniPath, and some proprietary network. So in the interconnect world, we have to consider two kind of things. First, what technology we will use, and then what kind of topology. So how we can connect the computer to each other. This is the picture, how the computer will be connected. This is the technology related to the how fast it will transfer data to each other and how big the data can be transported in one time. It's about the interconnect. So related to the technology, we can choose from the cheapest one, the Ethernet with a higher latency and maximum bandwidth up to 100 of gigabit per second. So if you have 1 gigabit data, you can transfer it in 1 second. But this kind of Ethernet is still quite expensive, I think. In our daily life, we use 1 gigabit per second. It's fast enough to transfer all of my movie into my storage in real time, But we're using 100 times faster. It's possible in the HPC world. And this guy from IBM, they are using high fiber diet, you see, in the 100 gigabit Ethernet.
I see.
This is a kind of technology gigabit Ethernet looks like. It's just a bunch of fiber optic cables in our data center. But
so the physical is like the cable, right?
It's just the optical
yellow
cable.
Okay.
Optical cables. So we cannot use copper cable anymore because the interference of electromagnetic wave from our surrounding will be disturbing the communication. So they need optical cables to isolate them from the environment in the higher speed network. But in our daily life, we still use a copper cable to communicate in 1 gigabit. So this is affordable technology and open standard. Another technology that we can use is like Intel OmniPath. This is more fast, lower latency. In our Ethernet is quite fast. It's 1 to 100 times faster. Yeah, so in 100 millisecond, it's look like millisecond 1/1 juta ya, 1/1 juta, berarti kali 100 itu adalah
10,000.
10,000 ya. So we can have a delay 10,000 of second in our daily network. So when I talk now, we have delay below 1 second, but this is faster, 10 to billion latency. So data can be transferred with very low latency. It's real time. When the CPU execute the data now, the other CPU will receive instantly with the same bandwidth. Bandwidth means you have the pipe. How large is the pipe will define how large volume of data can be transferred at a time. So larger is better, of course. And then another technology from NVIDIA, formerly known as Mellanox, is InfiniBand. It has a low latency also, but higher bandwidth. But the problem is it is very vendor specific. Only Mellanox sold the product, and it's quite expensive. So many people use Ethernet, and some people use Omnipath, and very rare occasion. So some other very expensive computer, they build their own network technology. Like Fujitsu, they build their Torus interconnect by themselves. So they do not use a card like this, but from one compute node to another compute node is connected by using specific cable and interconnect. So that is the technology. I mean, the hardware itself, how it can transfer to each other node, but we also need to think how each computer are connected in the network. If we have many computer, you need to think, is it connected like a tree, or is it connected like the right hand side is called dragonfly network? Is it connected like this, like puzzling connection, and or is it connected like a torus, so multi-dimensional ring network? Why we need this kind of topology? Because we need to communicate instantly. Each process inside the cluster need to communicate instantly in the same time. I mean, if we have 100 of workers number 1 need to communicate to worker number 99, and he need to send data at that time. The time required for worker number 1 to send data to worker number 99 and worker number 1 to worker number 50, for example, have to be the same, have to be exactly the same. So the path it takes to communicate to worker number 99 and the path it takes to communicate worker number 50 has to be the same. So we need some kind of topology. Maybe it's quite difficult to imagine in our world. So if you need to go to our campus, and if you need to go to Alfamart, for example, you have to take same exact amount of time and same exact amount of length. How can we do that? So this kind of topology, kind of Dragonfly and Torus is kind of a solution to that problem. But in our daily life, we use some cheaper solution like Quasi-FAT3. You can see the problem in here. When this computer want to send data, the blue computer want to send data to the orange computer, it will take a longer path. Yeah, when the blue computer want to send data to the next blue computer, yeah, yeah, if this computer want to send data to this computer, it will be very fast because it's the same switch, the neighbor. But if the blue computer want to send to the orange one, he need to go through a different path than this one. So we have a latency. One communication have to wait for another communication to complete. But in another kind of topology like Dragonfly or Torus, another process do not need to wait. So all processes are executed coherently at the same time, at the same path as we can. Sometimes it take a different path, but we want to be like that. So yeah, this is some example of the topology itself. We also design some tree topology for some cluster. For example, we have a compute cluster in here and storage cluster in there. We want to connect these two cluster, becoming a single compute cluster for HPC. And then we talk another part about storage. Yeah. So we go to the last part in the HPC. We already choose our processor, we choose our accelerator, and we integrate a lot of computer using interconnect, using a network. Now we talk about storage. About storage, I wonder if we take question or yeah. If you have question, please feel free to interrupt me or write in the chat box. So about storage, the next part, there is two important things that we have to consider. So first is the medium itself and the file system. The main challenge in the storage world is first, this storage need to be synchronized. I mean, you have 100 of computer connected to each other. You do not want to see your file available to this, not to node number 1, but node number 100 cannot read your file. So the challenge is when you write some files, immediately, exactly at the same time, another nodes also can read that files. So that is the file system challenge in the parallel file system. So it has its own word for the storage. So we can build our compute cluster by using a fast processor, very fast interconnect, and very fast accelerator. But there is another problem. We need to accommodate a large amount of computer into single large storage. So first, you need to choose which medium. If you want to use a very fast storage because your application is very I/O sensitive, I mean, if one process have to wait for another process to complete, then you will have a terrible execution. You will have a long execution of your program.
Yeah, Pak Nurul, you have a 5-minute remain.
Okay. In this case, we have we can choose all flash storage. But if you want to just store all of your data in large amount of data, we can populate a spindle storage like hard disk, and a lot of server using this kind of hard disk working together. Okay. Yeah. So this storage is different from your USB or your external hard drive because it has its own cluster. It's coupled together by using by distributing the storage medium in the network. There is some storage technology like CAPH, Safe Cluster, Lustre, or WK. It depends on the performance you want. Yeah, most most important thing to do in our data center, sometimes we just pray that our data will not be lost gitu ya, because we play with storage cluster is a very risky move. So in our lab, sometimes I lose my data because of the corrupted media. Okay, this is in our campus in Telkom University. Actually, we have a type of HPC. Yeah, we have a compute cluster in our facility in campus. You can access it from your home to this facility by using a web interface or the web interface like this, like Jupyter Notebook or the command line interface. And then, sometimes it's very rewarding when you execute your model, just to execute your model in a large amount of processor, 96 processor and 8 accelerator to only execute your tsunami model. In this work, I execute this kind of simulation, this kind of simulation of tsunami modeling, and then we analyze the result, whether it's realistic or not, whether its simulation is correct or not, and many kind of other things. And you can also do to use this kind of facility, just access this website s.id pinjam HPC, or you can read the manual s.id/access HPC. I update regularly when we have free time. And then, it's just a joke. Every cluster need a blessing. It is actually happened in Polandia. They bless their cluster. So to perform well through the 1 year of service.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Pak Nurik, for your presentations. Very interesting topics today. So if you have any questions, students, you can ask. You can raise your hand. Okay, you can raise your hand. Okay, so we have a question from Rifki Aulia. Do we build an HPC to solve a specific problem or not? If not, is it possible to create a supercomputer that can solve all problems, but using different algorithms to solve each problems? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Rifki. Very interesting question. Should I answer that way?
Okay. Yeah, you can answer.
So Rifki, do we build HPC to solve a specific problem or not? There is two answers for that. Yeah. We can say yes, and sometimes we can say no. It depends on the institution who built the HPC. So the HPC itself many times built by an institution, not by individual or some non-profit organization, because it costs a lot of money. When the country or the research institution is belong to some country, it will sometimes it's built for generic purposes. So for example, in Japan, Fugaku is built for many kind of application. Japan is very advanced in climate modeling and earthquake simulation. So they want to accommodate a lot of scientists to use their supercomputer. So they generically purpose build the cluster for many kind of application. But there is some specific application for, like example, do you know Pixar Studios from Disney? Not Disney, it's Pixar. Yeah, they specifically built their cluster to render some 3D model image to make some movie. So there is also some specific cluster, also for climate modeling and many kind of things. But in general, that kind of cluster tends to be smaller in size because they have a specific application. But the huge cluster, they always want to accommodate more user. They want to accommodate climate modeling, early warning system like tsunami. It will be very helpful if we can predict tsunami or predict thunderstorm or predict what you could say storm. It will save lives, and then that kind of computer are sometimes very large. But is it possible to create a supercomputer that solve all problems using different algorithms to solve each problem? Yeah, that is the approach we use until now. So we have some problem. Many people think of many ways to solve it, and they also use many algorithms. Yeah, and then people compete to each other to solve that kind of problem. Yeah, just like in the early pandemic of COVID-19, people are compete to each other to find what cure is possible to end this pandemic. So first they have to think about what mechanism are actually happen in the viral infection of COVID-19. They're using a computer to simulate that. And whoever find the mechanism first, they can find cure faster. It means they can make a vaccine a lot earlier, and then we can get more money because we find the cure before the others, right? So people compete to each other to solve the same problem using many kind of different cluster and many kind of models.
It is similar like in our campus, right? We have a HPC and then we can run any algorithm, right? Pak Nurul
Yeah,
some students have different problem, okay? So, but we can use one HPC actually.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Our HPC can be used for machine learning, or you can execute your model for maybe computational fluid dynamics or material simulation, and many kind of application can be executed in our cluster.
Okay, so any other questions? One question remain. One questions. So student, any questions? Okay, any other questions? So maybe one question for me is about the cost, Pak Nurik. So how about the cost itself? So which is when we gather all the computer, maybe many computer in one places, and we compare to the maybe using the cloud. For instance, that we use the parallel maybe in cloud architecture. So which one is has the higher cost for the maintenance maybe?
Yeah, this kind of cluster is actually consume a lot of energy per hari. It's very interesting question. The cost to maintain this huge cluster is expensive. So it will be more efficient if we can share these resources to as many people as we can. So the cloud is one of solution. Is one kind of solution. You can pay as you go. We save energy because when we are not using the cluster, other people are using. But there is some problem to that kind of mechanism. When you want your application to be prioritized. Sorry, I cannot spell it correctly. So we want to be prioritized. The cloud computing sometimes not perform as we wanted to. For example, when I try to run my model on the cloud, sometimes I cannot get the resources I wanted. So to get this kind of example, I use AWS for execute this model, tsunami model of Java and Australia. I have to wait a long time to get the resources that I wanted to. So, and I also need to ask them, I need this number of CPU, I need this type of graphics accelerator, and then I have to wait. Then they provide you. But when we have the facility on-prem, they will be available for you anytime you need, and you can perform model as many as you can, as long as you want. But the problem is the electricity bill is very expensive, and yeah, we have to pay that for the electricity. The solution is we share the compute facility as many people as we can. So when the utilization of that facility is high, it means good. A lot of our money is being paid off. So we have kind of monitoring technology that we can monitor the usage of the cluster. If the cluster is used, many people using it, and a lot of queue are happening, and a lot of programs are executed, it means good. Yeah, our money is used for computing something, but when the cluster is empty, we just need to power off some nodes.
Okay.
To save energy.
Okay, so thank you very much, Pak Nurul Iksan. So I call him Nurik so, in campus. So okay, so thank you very much for your time, and you have give us the opportunity to talk about this technology. This is actually I think this technology is it's remain quite hot, something like that. So then also this technology also we already in Telkom University we already has one HPC, right? So and then so maybe one of you, the students, if you interested with if you're interested to use this technology, you can join with the HPC club. This is not club, but something like I don't know, it's a HPC laboratory, right? So then yeah, we have maybe Pak Nurix already share you about how to contact the HPC lab. Okay, so all of you, please, can you open your cam? So we need to give some, not some. This is give one appreciate to Pak Nurix for presenting their topic today. So could you please open your camera? So wait a minute. So where is here go?
Thank you, yeah, Pak Hari and everyone.
Okay. So please, everyone, could you please open your camera? Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. I need to prepare first. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, this one I need to pull this one out. So sorry. Okay, so I still wait some student to please open your cam. So okay, so and please give applause maybe virtually to Pak Nurix for this is our appreciations. So we only give you a certificate of appreciations. So thanks to Pak Nurul Iksan to give us a lecture today. So we hope that our meetings, this is not the last meeting, so we can discuss again maybe later. Okay, so you can contact Pak Nurix. Maybe you can call via by me. Okay, so in the group you can asking about his contact. So if you have any questions, so I think okay, Sofian Aldi, Ariful Islam, Muhammad Dafa, Olaza. Okay, please can you open your cam to just in few minutes. Okay. Okay, so otherwise, so I need to take the photo right now. So I need to okay, so maybe 1, 2, 3. Okay, so wait a minute. I need to save first. Okay, I need to save first. And Pak Nurik, can you share maybe after the slide?
Oh, slide.
Okay, yeah. Now? So share yeah later. Okay, you can share later. So I will share for the others. Okay, maybe one more time. Okay, one more time. Okay, so maybe peace or something like this one, thumb ups, like thumbs up or anything that you. Okay, it's better. Okay, so thank you very much. So maybe one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so thank you very much. So I hope that this meeting today have any any message that all of you can receive. Okay, so then we can oh, I need to stop first. We can start again next week's, okay, for our student. Okay, so thank you very much also for our students and Pak Nurul Ihsan again. So thank you very much. Next week we have another speaker. Okay, this is a young beautiful woman will speak next week. Okay, just stay tuned. So we will inform you maybe as fast as possible. Okay, then we talk about the AI applications or AI area. Okay, so it will be more interest for all of you who studied about the AI. Okay, I think that's all today. Thank you very much. See you again. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.